Oh, really? Let's turn on the match real quick. I don't know if I can show it on stream. We could before. Not like they would ever fucking know, but
That is also true. Just put it on and blur out all their sponsors.
yeah, that I'm sure that's what they're worried about. Be like BlizzCon all over again. Currently, 100 Thieves up 5-1. I didn't really watch any of this match.
I just had them both on.
All right. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hello, hello, hello. All right. Hello, welcome to episode 349 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. And this is going to be the best episode ever. We will discuss the VCT NA playoffs thus far, as it's, I'm sure this match will wrap up by the time we get to it. So we'll know at least two of the teams that are going to Berlin, for NA that is. And also, we are the only podcast brave enough to even mention this topic, but we put an end to it right now. CSGO versus Valorant. We have played both quite a bit as of late, and we're going to give our honest, unbiased opinion and tell you which one is the better game. So there's that. Also some e-news to wrap up the show with as well. But before we get to any of that, I gotta tell you about the show sponsor. Of course, it is Alt Esports. AltEsports.com is where you need to go, your one-stop shop for the best esports apparel out there. You can pick up hoodies. The weather is getting cooler any day now, or at least that's what I'm telling myself to make myself feel better. And they have plenty of hoodies to pick up from. Tie-dye hoodies, neon hoodies, hoodies with crystals on them. I mean, how can you go wrong? And you can get that all at altesports.com.
Hey, this is Shroud, and you're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 349 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, August 11th, 2021. The time, 9:05 p.m. Central Time, of course. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. Our Discord's in the link of the description there, as well as Patreon. So if you're into that, want to support the show, would love you, but love you the same if you choose not to and just want to support it with love. That's also good. My name is Tim. I'll be your captain for this journey into esports, and alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend, Danuj. What is up?
Dude, I'm glad we had a chance this past few weeks to explain to our wives. We needed to do some research for the show. We needed to dedicate at least 40 hours a week to being able to play both games, put in enough time. You know, you got to take care of the kids, babe. You got to have the dinner ready. You got to take care of the house for the next couple of weeks because we're doing this for the boys. And I think we came through.
Crunched the numbers.
That's exactly what we did. We even played third-party games, you know, in the sense of getting into Face It. We're like, we got to get the full experience. and give our fair in-depth analysis. And you know what? I'm glad we did it. I think we potentially have a new segment on our hands because now I'm tempted to be like, let's rate all the battle royales. Our favorite to least favorite.
I would rather never do another episode of this show than have to play a lot of battle royales. In fact, I know we couldn't do it considering yesterday. Was that yesterday? We tried to play Apex for the first time in a long time. You had me reinstall it. I almost already uninstalled it, but I was like, no, I might as well leave it installed for now. But we literally opened it up, got 2 minutes into a match, and we both were like, this isn't fun. You want to just
Counter-Strike.
Go play Counter-Strike?
It was the first gunfight where we really destroyed these guys, and they kept running behind pillars and healing and then coming back out, and we were just doing it over and over again. I was like, you know what? Let's go smack some heads in CS.
Yeah. It's Apex is a fun game, but at the end of the day, it's a BR, which those who listen to the show know I personally do not like at all. I've never found one that I truly enjoy.
I do think Apex is the best of the lot, though. Like, I know we're never going to do an episode on it, so I'm comfortable telling you this, but I do think, to me, Apex is the best.
But it's still not
BR
saying
available.
much. Like, if I had to put games on a tier, it would still be like a C tier game, but maybe, sure, A tier. I wouldn't even give any BR an S tier. Just because
It's A tier.
Just none of you deserve an S tier.
It's an A tier BR.
Funny enough, the only BR that I think I would honestly enjoy if it was good, right, is
yeah, I know where you're going with that.
PUBG. I think that's the only BR that I honestly remember liking, but it's just so bad in the sense of like
it's just a trash game is
right.
the problem.
If you came out with a PUBG that was made correctly and optimized and
that just felt like it was somewhat of a next gen game. Yeah. I didn't feel like I was playing a game from like 2001 that I'm trying to play on modern day computers, you know?
Yeah. So BRs are just not for me though. That's it. Wolf in chat, welcome back. He says he's back from his mini vacation. Can't wait to spend all day getting mad and used to CS and Valorant. Well, sir, hopefully you learn a little thing on this episode because we are going very in-depth discussing both games.
And keeping in mind, August is Positivity Month. We only made pros list.
That's
Didn't
actually
even
fact.
Make a cons list.
Don't even have. We're only talking about the positive side of this because August is Positivity Month. Positive vibes only for the entire month of August. Speaking of positive vibes, Anuj, I have a little life update that I'll just share with the listeners. I am halfway to be fully vaccinated now.
Me clapping, giving you the golf clap over here.
So I
proud of you for making that move.
Yeah, yesterday the wife and I have decided it's time. We went and got our first shot of vaccine for the COVID, and so now we're halfway to being invited to the party, as they say. So I did it 1% for me, 99% for esports. It was really like the 3 events that we talked about last episode that have been canceled or the crowds at least moved and now it's online only or no crowds. I was like, okay, I need to get this vaccine. If I ever want to go to a LAN again in my life, I need to get this vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine going to like the COD event unvaccinated? That'd probably be pretty risky, I would say.
Well, like, given the fact that half the pros have COVID, yeah, I would say so. Though, most of the time when you go to a LAN event, you should probably wear a mask all the time anyways. That's just even before COVID. I probably would have recommended that just for your own personal health because they're nasty. Let's be real. But no.
Like, maybe that should have been a thing before COVID.
Right.
Everybody just wear a mask and shower.
Right.
Requirements.
Just shower. That's number one.
Just shower. That's a win.
That's number one. I've told this story before, but at MLG Dallas, I think 2006, many, many years ago, we were there for Halo, and they actually had to come on the loudspeaker on the intercom of the hotel to remind the guests to shower because it smelt. And this is not exaggerating because my parents were there to watch me compete because that's what they did. It smelt from the ballroom where MLG was being held all the way to the front lobby of the hotel.
That's just
Just
disgusting.
the stench of a bunch of Mountain Dew, Dorito, fat boy nerds gaming for an entire weekend. It was, I mean, and even for me.
That's how QuakeCon felt to me though too. When we go to QuakeCon, I
Yeah.
always get like a little bit. I walk in there and it's like extra humid all of a sudden, and I can just feel like the body odor. You could feel it. It's a little thick, It's like cutting through it.
QuakeCon, and I love QuakeCon. If anyone's
I
listening
love
from
it.
QuakeCon,
Yeah.
you are by far my favorite like event to go to.
Oh, over DreamHack?
Well, no, not DreamHack. I don't put them at the same scale.
No, you have to compare them all equally here.
Well, then
QuakeCon is big.
I would give DreamHack, because QuakeCon's just Bethesda and Quake, right? They don't get to reach from every corner of the gaming esports world. But QuakeCon, you definitely skimp on your AC bill, because it is hot as balls every single year. Every single year we walk around like the BYOC area of QuakeCon, we are legit sweating just walking around. Like, I get there's a lot of PCs, but DreamHack is normally cold. Like, you're normally having to bring a hoodie at DreamHack because they
I had
jack
to
up
take
the
your
AC.
hoodie the first one.
That's right. I was the only one with a hoodie, and it was passed around like the village slut.
When you go somewhere in June in Texas, you never think to pack a hoodie. It just doesn't cross my mind at all. Like, even if it's an
No.
indoor event, usually they can't get it cold enough, but DreamHack freezes you out of the damn place.
Yeah. No, it's I miss them. I miss them. So I did my part. I got vaccinated. So there you go. One down. Still though, I'm still going to wear a mask. I'll still be very smart. And that's why it's like, so I was never anti-vax. I would say I'm vax cautious, in the sense of, and anyone who knows me knows this. If you tell me to do something, I'm probably going to be very resistant to the fact, just because I'm like that. So we were very cautious, but we were still wearing masks. We were still being very smart about it. So if you're on the fence and you want to talk, hit me up in my DMs. I'll gladly discuss my thoughts on it with you if you're ever curious. Because like I said, obviously not anti-vax. I got it. But I definitely am aware that I was late to the party. I was not part of the first wave. So figured it was time. It was time, especially with like the second wave of COVID happening now. I can't, I can only be cautious for so long.
You got kiddos. You need to be around.
Definitely, well, not so much with them. Might be tempted to get the vaccine out of me if that's your argument. But I'm esports events, on the other hand, definitely glad. Wolf in chat talking about his school doing mandated masks. We're in Texas. We don't know what that word means. Mandate? What's a mandate in Texas? Can't do that. So either way, do your part. Not to be a good citizen of America or to humankind, but do it for esports, right? Do it for esports. Just be smart. Wear a mask or get vaccinated. Either one. I don't really care in the end of the day. Just if you aren't vaccinated and you're not wearing a mask, stay away from esports events. So I personally, selfishly, can go to them. That's the bottom line here. That's it.
100%. I agree.
That's it. Because when you go to those events, Anuj, they're going to have 2 games now forever. You will have your CS stage and you will have a Valorant stage. And the question will come up, which one gets the bigger one? We've been to hundreds of LANs and events, big and small, and everyone knows the one with the bigger stage is definitely the more popular game, right? They're not giving no knock on it, Farm Simulator to the main stage, right? That's going to be a side stage thing.
Like, if I went to DreamHack and Hearthstone had the main stage, I would be a little disappointed.
Be a little confused. Be a little confused. Exactly. So now you have the 2 games in discussion, CS and Valorant. We've talked about these to world's ends as far as comparing them, contrasting the games, the pro scenes, the esports ecosystem in general. But Anuj, I'm not going to lie to you. That's all was kind of based off of memory, because since Valorant came out, you and I have played very, very, very little CS. Like, I'm talking maybe you can count the amount of games that we've played on one hand up
Yeah.
until this last couple of weeks. And then even more when WoW came out with the latest expansion, we've played no CS. So that was like what, since
Played no CS and no Valorant.
October, November, we've played a little bit of Valorant here and there, but never enough to care. WoW is dead to us for now. So now we are like, okay, let's go back to our roots. So over the last couple of weeks, we have played Valorant, we have played CS, we have played them with the mindset of we knew we were doing this segment, so let's really pay attention to the details and just let's look at the games here. Pro scene and esports scene and all that will be a factor into this discussion, but just so everyone knows, we're really looking at the games because
we're not going to be talking about LAN events and comparing like
Right.
hype behind that type of stuff. Valorant hasn't had a chance to do that. And a part of the reason we haven't done an episode like this before is also because we needed to give Valorant its fair chance to like build upon what they started with, right? Like it would have been unfair to do this 5 weeks after launch and assume that we can give you a realistic idea of which one we think is better and why. And so now we have a couple hundred hours into Valorant now of playtime, and obviously a couple thousand hours into Counter-Strike playtime. But over the last, I would say 2 weeks or so, we've definitely got a second full-time job playing both games.
Yeah, because I will definitely say I have probably quadrupled my playing time with FPS games in the last couple of weeks. And I won't lie, at the beginning of it, it was rough because, and I know for you too, this is the same. And this goes for both, any FPS really. The muscle memory was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. Like the snap headshots, the controlling recoil, the angles, the jiggle peeking, the bunny hopping. It was like I've never. You might as well have given me a controller, because it just
felt like that for the first few games. Definitely,
it was rough. The muscle memory was rough. But Anuj, so let's get into the discussion here then. Looking at Valorant and CS again, August Positivity Month. We really kind of only wrote down the positives because really think of the exact opposite of that, and then that would be a con for the other game.
Surely we're going to give you the negatives on the other side of it, or at least explain why we like one side better, so you'll have a very good idea.
And I think that's also important to note is when we're discussing there, and this goes for me personally, maybe it's different for you. I will let you know if I don't like something about the game, but overall, I don't think I hate anything about either of, like both of the games are.
No.
Like when I say,
I take that back. There are certain things about Counter-Strike that I will tell you that I hate as we get into
and same thing with Valorant. Like there are things that it's like, no, if I had a magic wand, I would change this.
As a whole, I very much like both games, and maybe we're the oddballs for that, right? Like I think we are both games, but I do have a favorite.
And I think we are. Like, again, no bias here. We have never received a paycheck from either company. We don't
open to it.
I mean, we can definitely be biased. I'm not saying we're above that. I'm just saying we don't have history and beef with these companies. We don't have friends involved with the companies. I feel like a lot of the times when you see opinions on CS or Valorant or any game comparison out there, a lot of the people talking about it have a network tree on, you can pretty much guess what their opinion is going to be based off of who they know, who they've worked with, and who they have beef with. And then it's like, oh, really? You're a big CS guy, huh? Oh, you think Valorant is going nowhere? Not even that you think CS is better, but you think Valorant sucks? Okay, that's interesting. So
Valorant has taken the place of Overwatch in the CSGO hatred community.
Right. Overwatch is
dead. It used to be everything Overwatch we were comparing it to. Now it's like you bring up Valorant. And I think it's just the fear that Counter-Strike players have in general of like their game falling off. And there's reasons that they have those fears, but Valorant's definitely taken that spot in terms of enemy number one.
And I think that's mainly because Valorant is the new shiny toy, as we've said multiple times on the show. I mean, even just from, if we kind of want to get into it, looking at all of the quality of life features that Valorant has compared to CS. the matchmaking first and foremost. Like if you are a new player getting into like if fresh, you're brand new, coming over from console, let's say, and you go, man, all this hype about CS and Valorant, I want to give it a shot, but which one should I do? If you're a new player and you go into CS, a wide learning curve, not just from like recoil control and movement and things like that, just from a general, like you are going from, like, I would say Valorant is like the newest gen phone with all the bells and whistles, and CS is like that old reliable flip phone that's always going to work for you, but it's not going to have all the fancy features.
It's like saying you want to go work for NASA and your first class you take in high school is quantum physics. Like you're not jumping that far ahead. Valorant, you would be starting off right with physics 1, physics 2. It's very much an easy build up getting into Valorant, partially because in Counter-Strike, just knowing all the smokes would be a second job for you. Memorizing how to line up everything in that game can be very difficult. And you're talking to a player of 15, 20 years that I'm telling you, like, it's difficult. It is not an easy thing to remember everything for all the maps on both sides of the map. On Valorant, you don't run into that issue because any person that can throw smokes usually has some form of like you go into another dimension and can see where you can drop them, or you can actually physically move the smoke and place it on some sort of mini map, or Brimstone pulling out his little pocket watch and or whatever that he has there that allows him to drop them wherever he wants. Like that part being taken out of the game in terms of what a player has to learn is huge. Now Valorant does have some of that. A
Yeah, they
player
have
like
some
Nova,
lineups that you need to know, but it's not like
it's usually more for defensives in the
right.
sense of like Sova on offense getting information, right? Or like a Viper having to throw her little poison bomb, I think it's called, or whatever,
Yeah, or like
just
Sova's
to
darts, things like
kill
that.
joy. Like there's things like that that are there, but you are taking out a big piece of
Right.
that by not having to worry about that with
And I
like the
think that's just
smokes.
natural, right? Like in any competitive game, you're going to have things you need to learn outside of the basic tutorial, right? There are just things that you
For
will
sure.
pick up. But that's all things that I feel like you can almost just pick up from playing. With Counter-Strike, there are so many hidden gems when it comes to being competitive, to where it's like, all right, I'm going to throw this
Bunny
smoke.
hopping.
Yeah, yeah, right. Bunny hopping, like you said, the smokes, the pop flash, right? How do you properly pop flash? All that stuff
The
can.
4 different ways you can throw a grenade,
Yeah, a
right?
lot of
Depending
people
on
don't
which
even know
mouse
that.
click that you have, and you can do double mouse clicks, depending on which one you click first changes. Like it's kind of crazy how in-depth I feel Counter-Strike can get comparative to Valorant.
And I think one thing too that can be a double-edged sword in that realm is, so with Counter-Strike, and some people like it, some people hate it, some people don't even know about it. You can get your settings completely customized to your fit, from the FOV and how, like, where your gun is situated on the screen. You can adjust your reticle completely, even though now that's at least in the game. For the longest time, that wasn't even in the game. You just knew from setting up a console setting, which is off by default, right? So a lot of these settings are adjusted through console. A lot of people don't even know you can do that. The graphical settings make a huge difference in Counter-Strike as far as like how smokes and mollies look and appear, and like that can make a huge difference in the end.
On Valorant, I just play on. I honestly haven't changed my settings a whole lot in Valorant. Like very little tweaking in
Just
order
change
to
them to what you
maximize FPS.
prefer. Right, exactly. Like if you're just one of those guys where you crank everything to the lowest setting in an FPS just so you can max your FPS, then go for it. But that's really all you have to do, and then adjust your reticle on how you like it, and then you're good. And
Yeah.
again, and this is where it's kind of like in the middle, right? I don't think there's a winner or loser in that category because it is personal preference. It's just Valorant.
It's nice to have the option to customize, but your new player experience shouldn't make it to where it's that far off from what a higher level
Right.
player is playing. So it can be a catch 22. It's nice that you're able to customize that much in Counter Strike, but you also have to be. It feels like you're a hacker when you start messing with console as much as you need to, um, just to get things the way you want it. But again, it's not a bad thing that you can do that. It's just not easy for new players to figure this out. It requires a lot of time googling, figuring out what you like.
Now, if you're a new player, I also assume you're probably young. Like, I don't think anyone in their 30s is picking up Counter-Strike for the first time. Maybe, right? No judgment. But I'm assuming you're young and you're used to all your games having all these different features and seasons and game modes and things like that. And this to where I feel like goes in Valorant's favor because yes, Counter-Strike has operations, which happen what seems like once every 5 years at random. Yes, they have custom servers, which is a huge plus on them to where it's not just the game and you're not just subject to what Valve is putting out there. It's you have people creating custom servers with game modes that would just blow you away as far as how they can customize it. So custom servers ultimately wins with Counter-Strike. But again, that's relying on us to make that good for Valve. That's Valve not doing anything other than letting us do it. So,
which is good enough.
Good,
right? 'Cause
good.
the custom game modes in Counter-Strike are definitely a W in terms of
Of course.
win-loss here, right?
I mean,
Like,
for
being
a
able
while
to
there, you
have
put
that.
more hours. If you're new to the game, that's what I always suggest people is go into custom servers and don't even like worry about going into like, oh, do retake servers or no, just get into a custom server on Icebox or something like that and just shoot, practice aiming. Like those are like where you're going to practice your jiggle peaks all the time in 1v1 servers and things like that. But again, that's a double-edged sword because yes, Valve is pretty chill about their game, but at the same time, they're chill about it themselves. Like the updates, the communication, there's no seasons, there's no battle passes.
This is where it's a double win for Valorant, right? For Valorant, the developer, in my mind, is the pro, where that's the con a little bit in my mind for Counter-Strike. I don't feel like Valve does a good job keeping us on some sort of roadmap. Like you just never know what to expect and when to expect it. It could really just happen overnight. And hey, it's Tuesday, it's update day. There's a chance we might get an update. There's a chance it's a 5 MB update, and they've really done nothing. But you don't know usually what it is until it's happening. Where I do like having some sort of a roadmap. With Valorant, I know when we're getting new maps. I know when we're getting new agents. That is really, really nice. And so when it comes to developer, I also give Valorant the win there because they're also very active in the community. I don't know if they necessarily have a community manager per se, but all their like lead developers or people that are just lead, design engineers, whatever for the game, they're all very vocal and like very much out there on Twitter. And I know there's a team supporting this game. We're on Counter-Strike. If you don't know this, Valve allows you to work on any project you want at any given time, essentially. So we don't know how many people are actually working on Counter Strike. What kind of, um, the developers. There was only one that was willing to really ever talk on Twitter, and that was Matt Wood, and now he's gone. So there's really very little communication you get from the developers. So for that, I um, definitely give Valorant the win. And then on what you touched on, like you talked about seasons, it's kind of the whole matchmaking experience, right? It's not just seasons, it's everything about Valorant's matchmaking, including the new tournament mode that they just announced, which I think is incredibly cool to have in-game tournaments that you can just get on with the boys. You don't have to, it's every other weekend, so it's common enough to where if you miss one, not a big deal.
On a schedule, so like you could even plan it out, like where Anuj and I have even talked about, like that would be cool to do with listeners where, maybe we just say, okay, we're going to do the tournament this weekend just for fun, check it out. And that's something
100%.
you can do. And it's all in game. You don't need a third party, which again, and I agree, you could make the argument, well, it's nice to have third party options with Counter-Strike. And I agree. It's always nice to go on Faceit, or you have like
the necessity in Counter-Strike is the problem.
And that's the issue. Is it's not the fact that you have to use the third parties to play on decent servers and have a decent experience.
You're not playing what the pros are playing on when you play matchmaking. And Tim, for you, that's one of the biggest things that you complain about in what Call of Duty. That's a huge complaint that we both have, that you're not playing what the pros are playing. Like that sucks when that is going on.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening in Counter-Strike. You're playing on a 64 tick server. So any lineup that you see a pro do, maybe that's how you learn to mimic what they're doing, right? Is just by watching them, not necessarily finding a matchmaking YouTube video that shows you, hey, this is how you do it on 64 tick versus 128. Like the matchmaking experience for Counter Strike is a miserable experience. And I can tell you that because we just did like 20 plus games in
It was
matchmaking.
rough.
And it was either we had trolls on the team, we had people that didn't speak. You felt like the level of play was all over the place. Like some games, I felt like I was playing either we were playing a cheater, which is also very likely with Counter Strike, and a huge con for Counter Strike is the fact that you are suspicious of everybody that you play against. But the overall matchmaking feel was not fun. Thank God the game is fun, but the
Right.
matchmaking experience was really awful, and awful enough to where like, okay, let's go get back on Face It. Let's go get our logins. Let's get back on there and start playing third party just to feel like we would get a good experience. And sure enough, playing on Face It, we did have a better experience in terms of communication with the team, feeling like people were all on a similar playing field.
Still quitters though. We still I mean, people are triggered, and I think that's just gaming in general. Like you ask them to do something and they just get so defensive about it. But also still had some quitters, which I will say this, and this is all, I mean, could be all different personal experiences. From going back and forth from Valorant to Counter-Strike, dare I say Counter-Strike has a more toxic community than
It's
Valorant.
older community, right? So it is 100% more toxic. Like I don't think toxicity is necessarily just determined by age, right? Oh, Valorant has younger players; they're going to be more toxic. Like I think it's just Counter Strike is not as welcoming. Again, going back to our previous thought, the new players. So if you don't know something and you're playing in a Silver 3 game, well, you're expected to know it.
Right.
And that's kind of
Which,
an issue. Now, if you go into Face It and you don't know your stuff, that's on you,
yeah,
right?
because
Because you're
Face
not
It
getting
is
into Face
expected
It
to
being a
be
new player. Like
right.
that's not ideal.
Right, which is the other downside to third party, right? Is we would always recommend you go play Face It servers, but at the same time, Face It servers are where the people who know how to play the game play. So the expectation is you know what you're doing. Same thing though with matchmaking is, so we have been D-ranked to Oblivion because we didn't play for like a year. So we were actually a pretty high rank at one point in our life, believe it or not. Now we're like Silver 2, Silver 3. And even in those matches, which is like the fourth lowest rank in the game, people are like, hey man, let's throw these smokes. Oh, do you know this execute? Like, bro, you're in like the fourth lowest rank matches. Why would you even expect people to know these smokes? But it also just shows you the mindset of like the expectations are just there in Counter-Strike.
Well, the poor ranking system is
Yeah, I
to
mean, that's
blame
all
for
part
that.
of it.
Like, that's all kind of tied to the fact that we are playing in Silver 2, Silver 3 matches because we haven't played in a while. So when we get our ranks reset, it's not a hard reset for everybody. It's just us that is getting like taken down, where everybody else that was still playing is that they're probably closer to their normal skill level. And so without resets with seasons, it's like a really difficult thing to want to grind, you know? With Valorant, I know we're going to keep going back to it because it's like, oh, hey, a new season's out, ranks reset, let's get back in and see how it goes. With
Mm-hmm.
Counter Strike, I never get into Counter Strike with the thought, this whole week while we were playing, the past 2 weeks while we were playing, I've never once thought, let's get into the rank grind. Like, let's worry about what our rank is and get it
You
as high
can't.
as we can. Like, if it
You
happened,
honestly
great.
can't because it's such a crapshoot on what teammates you're going to get. It is a crapshoot as far as how you're going to go. Now, there's that more quality of life things that I think Valorant does better than Counter-Strike, is the fact that like their stats and everything are all right there. You can go and see your post-game stats, and it breaks it full down. It gives you your head-to-head against the other team, the round-by-round breakdown, what happened in that round, when you got the kills, everything like that, and it's all free. Counter-Strike took 20 years to add something like that, and they charge you like $1 a month.
Yeah.
And you could always just go to
although it's nothing, it's just the fact that you got to
just
pay for this like basic ass information that you can get from a third party site for
right.
free anyway. So don't get it if you are on the fence about getting it, unless you're just doing it to support. But yeah, that's an annoying thing. Like we were talking about it yesterday. I was like, man, I kind of wish I knew what my head to head was against this guy because I felt like we had a pretty good battle back and forth. And unless I go back and watch a demo of myself,
You're just
playing,
not going to do it. So
yeah,
there's that.
Happen, so.
Another quality of life thing that I think is super important for newer players. Wolf mentioned it in the chat, the fact that, and I'm going to branch off of what he said. He was mentioning he likes in Valorant that the sense that you can scope in on the weapons because it's just more like the other games he's played, which newer games typically have guns with more scopes on it. So that I'll give him that. But also the fact that in Valorant, you can buy back or sell back, I guess you could say, your weapons.
What a nice quality of life feature that is.
So
that causes majority of our arguments in games, I feel like.
So in CS, at the start of the round, you get someone and you're like, okay, are we going to buy or sell or buy or save? And then instantly you look over to the dude to your left and he just bought a glass cannon and op.
Op with all the utility in the world.
Right. And it's like, okay, so I guess you with 7,000 decided it would be a good idea to buy an op right now when I have $1,500. Great. So then it's like one dude has an op, while everyone else has like MP7s, and it's a miserable experience. Where in Valorant, if that happens, you can say, oh no, dude, we're saving this round. And then they sell it back and no harm, no foul. You can have somewhat of a cohesive strategy with these randoms that you are playing with. Right? Or even then, like, God forbid you just make a mistake and you need to sell the gun and get something else, right? It all works out. I also think, though, the fact that you can get pretty much what's the AK called in Valorant? Vandal. A Vandal, or you can get a Phantom. Like, you can definitely get any, like, the guns are available to play to your play style, where in Counter-Strike, I understand AKs and M4s for the other side. Valve, the game's been out long enough. Literally since day one, people have been asking for it. Let people choose if they want to have a silenced M4 or buy an unsilenced one in the same match. It doesn't make any sense that you need to choose before the match what gun or what loadout you want to go with before you even know what role you're playing in that match. Like, hey, am I going to be the entry fagger for these guys? Am I going to play long angles? What am I doing here? Those guns could all make a difference on what you decide to play.
Yeah.
So
no, agreed. That's one that is just kind of surprising that it hasn't been implemented yet. It's just such a small ask.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of these things that you'll hear Tim and I complaining about on Counter-Strike are all things that are not related to like the core gameplay. It's just features that people are asking
Easy
for.
Fixes.
Like in our mind, easy fixes. Now I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what goes on the development cycle, but I can tell you it's not that difficult because everybody else is doing it. Like we're not asking for shit that's outside of this box that nobody's ever done, and it's going to require you to change the engine or do this and do that. Like these are all features that are pretty common in any current next gen game. Like any game that comes out, seasons is the first thing that's kind of mentioned. We talk about them adding things like when we talk about the game, you're talking about the buy menu, right? Of being able to buy and sell. Like these are kind of minor changes in my mind. They're not anything major that people are asking for. A better matchmaking experience as a whole. Like again, not that difficult.
And it's all quality of life because realistically, and maybe someone would make an argument to Nuge. They're like, no, if you can sell back your guns before the round starts when you buy them, then you're just you're bad and you need to feel bad. I would argue is like, what skill level or what advantage to some, if anything, you would want that playing in a bunch of pugs with like solo queuing, where it's like not everyone's going to be on the same page. The pre-round countdown in Counter-Strike is so fast because you have to buy in spawn. You can't buy anywhere like you can in Valorant. So it's like you have to buy super fast and then run to your setup, right? So you get people where it's like they panic buy. So, and I get it. I get why they do it because it's like, look,
We've done it. I mean, it's like, oh crap, I accidentally bought this round.
Right. It's like, oh, I don't have all town. I wasn't thinking. I didn't look at everyone's else economy. I saved, and so it's just like just a quality of life that I feel like if they changed it, it would make it a lot better. Now, one thing though that matchmaking or just the gameplay in general for Counter-Strike has going for it, I think, is that in Counter-Strike, the one thing that I do enjoy is that regardless of your teammates' skill and things like that, that's a wash on both, right? It's more or less an even playing field throughout the setups and the matches. You don't have specific abilities or comp you need to worry about. That's one bad thing I feel like is in Valorant is I'm not a fan of class-based shooters. Although Valorant isn't a class-based shooter, it's like right next to it. It is rubbing up against those class-based
I mean, it
shooters
feels like a class-based shooter to me. What else?
because it's
I
not like a
think any
tank role or that's what I was thinking. But it
yeah, like there's not like the hero classes, right? But like
right,
there's still kind of at least with the healing aspect in the game, right? The fact that some classes can heal and others can't. You're like always focused on the meta in Valorant and what your team setup is. And there's certain times where you get into a game with Valorant and you know you've lost the game before it started. You have four duelists on a team
no
and one
smokes.
one initiator with no smokes. It's like, okay, what are we going to like do here with this setup? And so I do agree with you 100% with Counter-Strike. It's just the even playing field that you go into every round with, other than economy, was a really nice change of pace when we were going back and forth. I like the fact knowing that there are smokes, flashbangs, grenades, Molotovs. That's it. I know what to keep an eye out for. I know the primary areas where these things will be thrown for the most part. I am very situationally aware
Yeah,
in Counter Strike, where in Valorant, it does sometimes get a little overwatchy, right? When I say that, think of this: when you're entering a site and you have three different flashbang abilities, whether it's a Phoenix, a Sky, an Omen, and then you have multiple different like types of Molotovs, some that you can see, some that have been placed pre-round that you don't know where they're at, ciphers, tripwires, like all those things when they're going off at one time, including like a Viper's pit,
right.
like God forbid
And then
that's
you got
happening.
Jet jumping up through the smoke and
It
Omen
just
teleporting
feels like a
behind
lot.
you. I can see after going back and playing Valorant and Counter-Strike back to back to back, I can definitely see the argument for a Counter-Strike purist to not like Valorant for those reasons. Where at first I was always like, who cares? Like a molly's a molly, a smoke's a smoke. It's just like Counter-Strike. It looks different. But with the way they've added a lot of the agents in Valorant, even going back to watching like these matches today for VCT, I'm like, oh no, it is way different. Like it does feel closer to Overwatch in that regards than it does CS now. So I could see why
Yeah.
people who
I
love
know.
CS don't like that.
The even playing field for me is was one of the big differentiating factors throughout the last couple of weeks that I noticed was just I enjoyed knowing what everybody had and how everything functioned rather than having to think about that during the game based on like the site I was going to, what agent is defending that site. Like there's just other variables that you have to worry about
Yep.
in Valorant that you don't have to think about that in CS.
And as far as the gameplay, the gunplay feels, it is also again, it's one of those where it's like visually, it looks similar, right? You look at them and you go, okay, this looks like Counter Strike, and this must play like Counter Strike, and to a certain point,
Especially when we call like the AK and the M4, we've like translated that to Vandal and Phantom.
right?
Couldn't really be further apart though in terms of
Yes,
actual gunplay.
they feel completely different. Valorant to me feels very floaty. The headshots don't really feel like I snapped to them. It just kind of feels like I shot in the area of the head and it counts. Like the hitboxes on it feels huge. Um,
This is
just
where the new player friendly aspect comes in. Valorant to me feels really new player friendly when it comes to shooting. You can get running headshots. The hitbox for the head is 100% bigger, like it just is. There's no spray patterns. So we saw a perfect example of that on round, I think it was like 22 when we were looking at Envy and TSM. You saw FNS and Bang, I think, were going head to head. and they both just held down the trigger with no sense of a spray pattern because there isn't one. They were just kind of hoping the bullets hit. And it was first person to get the bullets to kind of tack on won that gunfight. And I really noticed it there. But in playing it, dear Lord, I mean, it's so drastically different. In Valorant, I'm just trying to hold my reticle kind of centered to the guy that I'm shooting with no worry of like pulling down or pulling to the left, pulling to the right. I just know if I keep my reticle on him, regardless of where they are, my bullets are going to go in that general direction. I look at it as almost like a circle. Anything around my crosshair, I know my bullets are going to generally go there. In Counter Strike, that is the difference between a silver 2 and a, you know, any really high considered what can be considered a high rank is understanding those spray patterns for each individual gun. And really, you just need to master it for the M4 and AK for the most part, and you're fine.
Right.
But being able to master that is a significant advantage. And I pray that Valorant at some point decide you've copied enough from Counter Strike. Take this too. Like they have spray patterns there for you. I hate the fact that they don't have spray patterns. It makes gunplay just feel a little in Counter Strike, it just feels more professional to me.
Right.
I like that added aspect. I think the pure aimers also appreciate that in Counter Strike, and I'd be shocked to hear otherwise. Even of the people that transitioned over, I bet you most people still like the way the Counter Strike guns work versus the Valorant, and that includes the op for me, Tim. The op for me in Counter Strike feels a lot more fluid, less clunky than it does in Valorant. Like I feel like I'm carrying a much heavier gun for some reason in Valorant. It just doesn't feel as crisp to get in and out of using the op um, like it does in Counter Strike. So for me, the gunplay 100% favors Counter Strike.
I just say in general too, like gameplay for me, I prefer Counter Strike in the sense of like I feel like it feels more tactical in the sense of like you have your smoke executes, you got your mollies to clear corners and things like that, your flash and entries, and it's like you hit it, your team goes in, everyone checks their corners, and it's kind of like that do or die gunfight battle, and the winner, comes out on top. Where with Valorant, it does seem a little bit more chaotic, as we said, with all of the different things you have when you're going into a site, and then an ice wall comes up and blocks you, and things like that. A Counter-Strike from just a gameplay scenario feels a little bit more tactical. And again, this is also could just be the sense of, hey, play with a stack of 5 on Valorant, and it will probably feel much more planned and tactical. But
I do think Valorant requires more like team play. Like
100%.
if you have a couple people that are just not working with the team and don't have mics on in Valorant, it's kind of a done deal. You know that you're going to have a tough time in that matchup. It's a lot harder to carry with just gunplay in that game. Like you really need to execute in a different way.
100%.
People just need to use their abilities to take
And
advantage of
again,
them.
take all this, and I will almost say this. If you constantly play with a 5 stack in any one of these games, it pretty much just pick whatever game you have the 5 stack in and play that with them. Right? Like we can all agree the ultimate de facto here is playing with your friends. So if you have a 5 stack, a lot of this is not pertinent information because yes, if you're like Anuj said, Valorant is 100% based off of team play. Although you can have a carry on it, with Counter-Strike, a dude can drop like a 40 bomb any given moment. With Valorant, just with the abilities and things like that, even if you have a guy who can just slay and kill people, if you're up against a competent team, even if they're not 5 stacks and a bunch of solo queues, like their abilities alone, if they can execute them better than you, the gunplay, doesn't really factor in as much as Counter-Strike.
Yeah, and like just the overall gameplay for Counter Strike, I also would agree that I just liked it more. Like
Yeah.
it just felt a little bit better. And again, we're not talking about these drastic differences here. Okay. So when we say we like one more than the other, again, we like both. It's just the overall gameplay, including gunplay, uh, felt a little bit better. And I found ourselves tend to be leaning towards wanting to play Counter Strike a little bit more towards the end of these couple of weeks versus like going back to Valorant as much. And so, um, and that's going to be the biggest tip of the hat to Counter Strike, right? Is if we think your game is just better, that's the most important piece. But you can also do things to turn us off. As you've seen, we've been gone for roughly a year from Counter-Strike, a year and a half now, where if they fix some of the things that we are discussing, if they're listening to not us, but I
Right.
feel like anything we're saying is pretty
If
common request, they could bring a lot of people back to their games.
if this makes sense, I think Valorant is the better experience, but Counter-Strike I have more fun playing. Like I enjoy Counter-Strike more. Valorant is the better experience. So take that for what you will. Like Valorant's going to have, like I said, all those nice features and, have more things to keep you involved and playing. And, the skins are badass looking, but you can't sell them back, right? There's no marketplace in Valorant. So that $50 skin or however much the most expensive one is, that $20 skin you bought, that's $20. You just spent $20 on that. Counter-Strike, we've seen, hell, you could almost double your money if you wait long enough, right? If the skin gets popular.
Yeah, the skin game is like such a catch-22 on both ends because in Valorant it's nice that you can buy what you want and it's affordable,
Right.
right? So if there is a badass skin that you really, really want, guess what? You can spend the 20, $25, $30 in some cases and get what you want there. I think I also like the frequency that we get skins in Valorant.
Yeah.
I think that's nice. Now that's a money making thing. That's not them being nice. So don't
It's
get
not
that.
them doing you a solid.
Yeah, it's not. They're not doing us a favor. It's their money making scheme that they got there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but I do
honestly, if
like
you
the
ask me,
frequency that we get them.
although I like that there's an open market in Counter-Strike to where you can sell your skins, I would prefer the way Riot does it. Like if Valve just said, hey, we're releasing a new case and these are the skins, $20 for the red skin if you want this badass M4 skin, I would honestly almost prefer that because there are a lot of badass skins I do want, but it's just I'm not gonna spend $300 on a knife. Just not
Yeah,
gonna
like
happen.
I 100% agree with you because like I want a dragon lore op.
Right.
I'm never going to have one. I will never ever have one in my inventory. I want a case hardened AK, but I want the blue version of it. Right? Guess what? I'm never going to have that gun. I will never be able to afford it. Like my wife would literally leave me if I bought one of these items that I'm mentioning. There's so many knives. There's so many gloves that I would love to have in Counter Strike, but I'm not going to spend $200, $300, $400 on the low or average end for some of these items to get it. Like I don't want it that bad. So that does suck, but I do like the market is a fun aspect, and it's probably the main aspect that Counter Strike is still thriving today is the fact that they have this marketplace, and half people are playing the game, the other half are collectors. It feels like. Um, but I agree with you. I would like the ability to just straight up buy what I want. And I really like that in Valorant because when I go look at my inventory in Valorant, guess what? Every gun I have on there is a gun that I wanted. Like I
Right.
bought that specific
You
item.
didn't have
And so,
to roll the dice and open up a case and maybe you got something. First off, not even like, hey, did you get the skin that you wanted? Awesome. Oh, it's battle scarred and it looks like shit. Tough for you, buddy. Like there's
yeah.
the
I have
skins.
never opened up a red item, a pair of gloves, or a knife in Counter Strike, and I've opened up
Feels
100 plus
bad. I
cases.
have opened up a knife, and let me tell you what. The moment you felt when your first child was born doesn't even compare to how I felt opening up that knife for the first time.
I've like prayed that I would just one day get a color other than blue scrolling across my
Just
screen, and it's yet to
it
happen.
really, I
So
mean, I like if you ever want to know what it's like winning a major, I would have to imagine opening up a knife is close to it
like it is,
because
yeah.
I mean, it was an
pretty close to it.
incredible feeling. It was. It truly was. So there, I mean, really, to wrap this discussion up, there's a lot of factors that are just preference based. It's whatever you prefer, right? Skins, UI look, things like that. Both games share that intensity of just a 5v5 shooter where, you're the only one left on your team and all your dudes are watching you and you just got to get that clutch. They both have that
Clutch factor is
Yes.
easily there for both games.
Yep. Far as esports side goes, like we said, I mean, both of them are Look, if you're trying to pick one or the other, I think you're splitting hairs at that point. Valorant has done a very good job within its infancy as esports. Counter-Strike, I mean, obviously kind of speaks for itself, is incredible. So no real point into getting into debates over that. It's just whatever,
It's still so much to wait and see with Valorant. It's
yeah.
just unfair to.
I feel like that is your opinion on Riot at that point, right? Like that's where I'm talking about. You have people who have been paid enough by CS events that they just have an opinion that they don't want Valorant to be good because they don't want their paychecks to get hurt. That's what I feel like when you hear half the opinions on that. Now, if you do want to talk about, and again, it's not really a fair comparison, but like the talent pool that esports has in Counter-Strike is incredible.
It's not even close. Like the host wise, I don't feel like it's that big of a difference in terms of like desk host, but the casting is night and day difference right now, and that's expected. But like an
you do
event,
have good
it's
casters.
just a night and day difference.
Obviously, friend of the show, Van Silly is one of the best in the business. That's good. But yes, for the most part, I won't name names. It's
Van Silly's on the desk most of the time now. He's not even
it's
casting nearly
Positivity Month, so I will not name names. But there are definitely probably some casters watching VCT tonight, and they're probably upset that they were undercut and not working right now. Because
like Counter-Strike has a tier of casters, right? Tier 1, tier 1.5, I would even say, and tier 2. I think down that list to tier 2, the casters are better than the Valorant ones right now.
Yeah.
Give it time, and that gap could close. But the level of talent in Counter-Strike, when it comes to the actual talent, is really untouchable to me. I mean, it's so. If you are not a Counter-Strike fan or a player, somebody that plays actively, go watch like a major where you had like Sadakist and Henry G or Anders and Semler in their prime together. Like go watch Machine and Sponge together now. Like go listen to these guys cast, and it's really brilliant. It's one of the beauties. It's a part of the reason why they command so much money is because they do add something to the game that's not given to you by actual gameplay.
They're
In
not
Valorant,
just yelling
I don't feel
into
like
the
we
mic.
get that just yet.
No,
It's like Valorant to me it feels a little bit more like if Maven was doing a Valorant event. That's kind of the vibe that I get from most of the casters. Just a lot of like hype, a lot of yelling.
It's the courage
it can get
casting
you pumped
style.
at time.
Yeah, it's
like, if you like that, that's definitely what it is right now. I prefer like the one-off jokes are nice that they do it, like the kind of the
just let the game get me hyped. I don't need you to get me hyped. You're not a hype man right now. You're a caster. Call the game. Give me your 2 cents. I don't need you to be.
Casters are there to build a story throughout the round for you, right?
Right.
And give you that build up, and then let the game talk for itself. Right now, in Valorant, it's just a little bit more of a hype machine when it comes to casting.
That's just personal preference and beef. It's not really any reflection of the game. That's just I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
So there you have it. So long story short, I know Anuj and I both have agreed we prefer Counter-Strike. We have surprisingly though, because again, we haven't played it in so long, and we were only focusing on Valorant for so long, and then we decided, you know what? Let's just go kick it old school and play Counter-Strike, and now we find ourselves playing Counter-Strike every night.
Yeah.
So, but it's true. I mean, I really do prefer it.
Even though we say this is like just our opinion, like what we say goes.
We are influencers.
We make mountains move, and that's just what we do.
Have you ever heard of the game called Splitgate? We did that.
We basically
Tim
played it 2.5, 3 years ago, and look at it where it's at today. And that wouldn't have happened.
Boom.
And so without his contributions, and I do agree with Tim. I enjoyed Counter-Strike more.
Yeah.
It just felt better to play. There were things I did not like about it nearly as much as we mentioned, and that's not going to change. But if you were putting a gun to my head and you were like, play one, and Face It was an option, I would play Counter-Strike, but I'm going to continue to play both. I like both games.
You're really looking at like Counter-Strike is like a 9.5 and Valorant is like a 9.3. Like it's really, I mean, No one I don't want anyone listening to this thinking like, oh, you're saying Valorant sucks. No, Valorant is a good game. We'll still play it. I'm just saying when it comes down to playing the game, I have more fun playing CS. It just feels better. That's how I feel.
Agreed.
So there you have it. The final debate, CS versus Valorant. We have put it to rest. It doesn't let the world know it's done. It's over. The debate has been said, and a winner is chosen. So there you have it. Let us know what you think, though. Let us know in chat, in Twitter, Discord, whatever. If you disagree or if you agree, right? The funny thing is they could agree on everything, but still be like, I just prefer Valorant more, right? And that's kind of the beauty of it. It's just when you're playing it, what do you just enjoy more, right? I can get past all of the quality of life that Counter-Strike doesn't have. I can get past the frustration that you're really just playing it to play the game and you're not going to ever have seasons or a tournament mode or none of that will happen, right? It's just won't. We've asked for it for years and years and years. And I have a feeling if Valve ever did do seasons, they would try to like tweak it and do their own thing.
Seasons would only be available in Danger Zone.
Right. So it just
wingman seasons. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And you know what? The other thing I want to add to this is Tim and I have lost our friends group completely. Okay. They're all dead
100%.
to us for the next few months until Battlefield or something comes out that we could all go play again. So it is just Tim and I. We're having a hard time finding our old bros for Counter-Strike. A lot of them have moved on, whether it's to Valorant or other games. So if you want to play some Counter-Strike, let us know. We have room for 3 more. We would like to fill up that group sometimes. It does kind of suck playing with randoms in that game. We're feeling that pain right now. So it doesn't matter what your rank is, unless it's super low and you don't know what you're doing. But if you're average at the game at best, let us know. Let's get in. Let's go play. We'll get on Face It if we have to and make that happen.
Yeah, because let me tell you what. There was a stretch there of my life where I never thought I would win another game of anything. Like between Valorant and CS, I went back and looked. I was like 1-12. And then finally, after I got the vaccine, we won 2 CS games. So
it's funny because with CS we had like such a bad start, and you would think, oh well, you guys came back after a year. Like what did you expect was going to happen? We were the carries in 90% of the games we played, and that was the issue.
I wish I was bottom fragging. No, hell, we both had aces. Like, I never got aces before, and we both got aces within this week. Like, we were dominant, both dropping 25 plus kills. You dropped 230 bomb. We were dominating, but we still were losing. So, it's just, it's how she goes. But, yeah, no. So, if you play, hit us up. I would love to, if we can get enough people for Counter-Strike, I would be willing to pay for a 10-man server to where our listeners can go in at any point in time to play around, but then maybe we do like 10-man nights, every so often to do that or something. If we can get enough traction, I would totally be down for that. So, they ask in the chat that apparently Splitgate has an achievement called I played Splitgate before it was cool. I don't know if it's an achievement or a badge. They said in the badge. I don't know if that's in-game. I don't know. I don't have an achievement called that, but I do, if you look on my Steam profile, have achievements for the game. So I have proof that, like...
You probably have to get into the current game
to get it.
Yeah, to get it.
Like, I have...
don't think either of us have it installed right now, do you?
No, absolutely not. Let's see here. Splitgate. The last time I played it... Now, if you look at my Steam profile, this is inaccurate, but I have 3 hours played on the game. I have much more hours played on it, but it was like before. It was, listen, when I say that we were in this game early, I mean we were in this game early because we played it at DreamHack Austin. Do you remember this, Anuj? We played it before, like when it was, so they used Portal and Halo models. So it used to be Master Chiefs running around the game. They just reused models and elements from other games. So, fun fact if you didn't know. And we played back then. Like, we had like a secret developer alpha invite for this game. So, I'm trying to see when's the last time I played. Does it even tell me this? Last played May 24th, 2019. So,
Been a little while.
in fact, I actually have it hidden on my Steam library because it was one of those free-to-play games that I had on my Steam for so long. I was like, I'm done looking at this. It's a dead game. So I hid it from my library, and lo and behold, it's
Back.
blowing up. So there you go. First Splitgate influencer right here. All right. So there you have it. Some CS, some Valorant talk. Anuj, for the sake of time, why don't we bump our VCT playoffs just to e-news for now? Did you have anything that you wanted to say about it?
I mean, honestly, we could even come back to it next episode after it's wrapped up.
Okay.
It's not a big deal to me.
All
I
right.
mean, if we don't want to, we could
Let's do that.
just hold it and we'll talk about it next
All right.
episode because I would want to dive into it. It's going to be hard to have a 2-minute conversation on that.
No, okay. So let's hold on to VCT. We'll still update and everything in e-news, but let's hold off on thoughts and opinions until next time for the sake of time. All right, so let's get into some e-news. That being said, e-news brought to you by Philly Esports. Go to phillyesports.net. Right now, you get you and your boys, and you can sign up for a handful of tournaments. This weekend, August 14th, which is Saturday, Best of 5 Call of Duty Cold War Search Control Hardpoint Tournament. So you can go, and those are obviously the game modes, sponsored by U.S. Army. The sign-up is free. So go ahead and sign up for that as well. If Call of Duty isn't your thing, well, you're in luck because they are also hosting their second of their Cup Series for Rocket League. It's a 3v3. What are the dates here? Saturday, August 28th, $2,000 prize pool. Again, sponsored by U.S. Army. Again, completely free to sign up. phillyesports.net. All right, so getting into some e-news here. With Overwatch, Pine has officially joined Dallas. He's been signed, but because of visa issues and everything, hasn't played, hasn't been in the States, but he's officially in Dallas. So hopefully they'll get to use him while they can, because there is rumors going around that the start of Overwatch League season might be delayed for next season, Season 5. Not just delayed, but postponed up to a year. So there might take a year off between seasons.
Now, that was like kind of debunked a little bit that it's going to be a whole year off.
Just depends if you're a tinfoil hat kind of guy, right?
Well, okay, so going off of what I believe one of the developers said, and a lot of the talent is also commissioner, whatever, came out and said like that's not accurate. So
yeah,
we will for now take them at their word at that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some major tweaks to Season 5, whether that's a big delay or, I mean, I do anticipate some big changes. Again, like now with the sponsorships being lost, it's just a whole nother added dimension for Overwatch League. So I don't think we're seeing a full year delay though. Like I don't believe them when they say that. That would just kill the game. It would absolutely just kill the game. There's no coming back from a year delay in a game.
Because regardless of what people think, the Overwatch League is a business, and it's a business that teams have invested a lot of money in. And, you know, Blizzard might not be the smartest people as of late, but they at least know, the league at least knows that, right? And the league doesn't want to see it collapse because they've invested a ton of money into this. A year off just so you can get to Overwatch 2. There's not enough momentum there.
Well, now the Overwatch 2 delay rumors are coming out, so it doesn't even make sense about them canceling this season just to get to Overwatch 2, because we're probably not going to have Overwatch 2 by the time Season 6 is around.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It truly, unless there's something going on that we don't know about behind the scenes with Overwatch, like maybe they're going to change Overwatch 1 to 5v5 all of a sudden. I don't know. I could see that causing but even then, a year delay of no competitive.
Delay it just cannot happen because the game would completely die. So
done.
I don't buy it that they're going to do a year delay.
So we'll see. We'll see. It's either you believe the rumors or you believe the league saying that they're false. So, which we have seen people say, no, these aren't true at all, and then all of a sudden they're true. So we'll see.
Blizzard Activision is like a stand-up company.
Honest people.
So,
Honest people.
like, I just hard to
if
not back them.
if there's anyone you have to trust in gaming, trust Blizzard Activision. So VCT update here. So we do have at least 2 of the teams for NA that will be going to Berlin, and that is Sentinels, debunking my myth of that they don't care, clearly, and 100 Thieves. So that's good to see there. Those were one of the teams that we highlighted in the previews that we would like to see show up. So obviously,
Tim,
talk more.
I think it comes down to our third picks for both of us here. You went with Envy. I went with TSM. TSM did lose to Envy today, so getting me a little nervous there. But we will get back to this on.
This is where
Sunday.
It gets interesting because now we have teams being eliminated and losing out on going to Berlin. Today it was like whatever.
Any loss going forward, you're eliminated from Berlin.
Yeah,
except for the upper finals.
Right, until you get to upper. Well, yeah, upper finals.
The loser of upper finals
and
will
then...
just drop to loser finals, but everybody else that's losing right now is out.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So now it's getting a little dicey, little pizzazz thrown at you. In MOBA news, NIP Ninjas in Pajamas partners with Chinese org ESV5 to form the NIP group. They will now be competing in LPL, I believe.
Yeah,
that's the one. I am told on Discord that's a big deal, Anuj.
I mean, I think getting a spot in League of Legends for any organization is just going to be like it's just big. I mean, you're talking about one of the biggest leagues in the world for esports and viewership and everything else combined. Like if you're talking about growing your organization, what a way to do that, is by jumping into the biggest esport currently.
And in other news, Boston Beer Company and Pepsi, Anuj, are creating an alcohol version of Mountain Dew.
Sales were declining. They realized their group of users were getting a little bit older. Like, screw it. Make it 6%. Get it out.
Now, I love Mountain Dew. Back in the day, I was your stereotypical Mountain Dew Dorito MLG gamer. 100%. I
was a Code Red fan.
Ooh, Code Red, baby. Code Red. In fact, they have out now this Mountain Dew Red, White, and Blue. It literally, Anuj, it tastes like they just dumped all of the flavors into one bottle.
The one.
Like, it is so much coming at your taste buds. It's delicious.
The only time I drink Mountain Dew now is when we do our once a year LAN type thing.
I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's like I can feel like the caffeine and the sugar like just clinching my jaw shut.
I gave you all my Code Reds after our LAN that one time.
I know. But not an alcohol drinker though, so we'll see.
I'm gonna try it for the sake of trying it.
Ginger Slayer say Boston beer is Sam Adams, so there you have it. I'm sure that it's like Four Loko all over again, right? It's just
my guess is gonna be some sort of seltzer type beer, right? Trulies or any of those. Like I think they'll probably make something similar to that because that's what's popular right now.
Yeah. So we'll see. Mountain Dew getting into the beer game, getting right where the kids need it, right?
Alcohol and sugar. What more do you need?
Perfect. All right, so there you have it. There is some e-news for you. And that does it for the episode 349 of the Center Ring Esports Podcast. If you're listening, if you're watching, and you're not following us on Twitter and or Twitch, why don't you do so? And you'll know whenever we go live, typically every Sunday and Wednesday night. At the Center Ring on Twitter, we will be back probably Sunday night, maybe Monday night. Never know. Just kind of have to keep an eye on Twitter for what our schedules allow us to do with the family. My wife is going out of town for the weekend tomorrow. I will have 3 nights by myself with 2 children. So this might be the last episode we ever do because I might die.
We find the positives here, Tim, on Positivity Month. And the positive is when your kids go to sleep these next 3 nights, you have unlimited gaming time ahead of you.
Oh, yes. Going to get a lot of...
Speaking of, we're going to be streaming tomorrow, I think.
That's right.
We should be streaming tomorrow. If we're not streaming tomorrow, we're definitely playing tomorrow. So if you're looking to play some games, Tomorrow will be
Hit
a
us
free
up.
night for both of us with Tim's
Counter-Strike.
wife out of town and my wife working tomorrow. So, yeah, if you're down to play some CS, let us know.
Going to be playing a lot of CS because it did win out over the Valorant debate. So tough for Valorant fans all around the world. But that's tomorrow. We'll be back Sunday, Monday night to discuss more VCT. I'm Tim for Nuge. We'll see ya. Perfect. Good show, everybody. Good show.
That XSET 100 Thieves game came down to the freaking wire.
Did it really?
Yeah, like XSET made a huge comeback, like when they were down 12-5 or 12-6 or something like that, and won 6 rounds in a row.
Damn. Oh, you know
Um,
what? That's one thing we didn't bring up. Valorant definitely wins on Counter-Strike is shorter rounds, shorter maps.
Yeah, that is nice.
Because Counter-Strike is long AF. Yeah, Rocker does have their own beer. I feel like that's so cyclical, you know? Like companies will do like a beer drink and then they'll get away from it because something happens
Yeah.
and
It's like
alcohol
it's
has
not cool anymore.
right, like
and
alcohol is a very
now that
negative.
seltzers are just so popular.
That's what I'm saying. Like seltzers are like almost like as a casual alcohol, and then it's like eventually they'll be like, oh no, you're gonna day drink with seltzers, you know? It's very cyclical. I feel like.
Kelly's texting me. Let me see what she needs.
Like I feel like when I was younger, you would have been considered an alcoholic if you drank seltzers the way they advertise.
What time does Morgan head out tomorrow?
I think like 1-ish. Right for nap time.
Nap time for you or for the kids?
Probably both at that point. Probably both. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think tomorrow I'm gonna clean the house, and then that way I'm done. Because if it's just me in the house, it will remain clean.
Yeah, that's how it is with us too. It's funny because like if I just am not, I don't want to say Kelly's messy because she's not messy, but she has stuff more like clothes that she wears throughout. Like obviously with the work uniforms, like she has a lot more laundry than I do.
Just leaves things on the counter.
Yeah, like I could. And then she also was like, okay, let's clean at the end of the night. And I'm like, I didn't really do anything today though. I had like one fucking glass, like I didn't make anything messy. But I guess when she's taking care of the kid the whole day, can't say anything. All right, let me go see what she's doing.
All right,
and then
everyone in chat, love your faces. Keep it real. We'll be back Sunday night, maybe Monday night.
Sunday, yeah.
Either way, we are gaming pretty much every night this weekend. So hit us up in Discord or something there, and we can hit Steam friends list and get some 5 stacks going or something on Faceit.
When's Morgan back?
Sunday, I think.
Dang,
yeah.
I think Kelly works Saturday, so I'll have Saturday night too.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think she comes back Sunday, and like
we're gonna get like 20 games of Counter-Strike in on those 2 days.
Oh yeah, we're getting back up to LEM right now.
Easy.
Branderson said he can probably play next Friday, which is like
what kind of schedule
in
is
a
that?
week. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so what are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like,
any other night. Like, come on, dude. Come on. I got 2 kids and I can do it. All right, everyone in chat, I'm going to kill the stream so we can get to editing. See you. Thank you for joining chat. We'll see you in Discord.